Security! Remove this thug before she steals something. Sarah Collins, the blonde spa manager, didn't just say it, she spat it. Her eyes swept Victoria's simple jeans and cotton blouse with undisguised disgust. Then came the grab. Sarah's perfectly manicured hand seized Victoria's canvas bag, flipping it upside down in one vicious motion. Victoria's belongings exploded across the white marble floor. Her phone skittered toward a woman in Louboutins. Her car keys jangled against the reception desk. Her wallet split open, credit cards scattering like fallen dominoes. 37 customers stopped breathing. Phones lifted. Videos started rolling. Victoria stood motionless in the debris of her dignity. Her dark eyes found Sarah's. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Sarah had no idea she'd just humiliated a woman who could buy and sell this place before lunch. Have you ever been judged so harshly that strangers felt entitled to physically destroy your peace right in front of you? The attack had been building for 3 minutes before Sarah Collins made her fatal move. Victoria had entered Serenity Springs at exactly 2:52 p.m., 8 minutes before her scheduled appointment. The reception area gleamed like a cathedral white marble, crystal chandeliers, the soft scent of lavender floating through air worth breathing at $500 per day. She'd approached the mahogany reception desk with quiet confidence. Behind it, Sarah Collins looked up from her iPad, her expression shifting from professional smile to barely concealed disdain in the space of a heartbeat. "Good afternoon. Victoria Blackstone. I have a 3 p.m. appointment." Sarah's blue eyes performed a surgical examination. The jeans expensive but not obviously branded. The blouse crisp white cotton, elegant but understated. The bag canvas, not leather. Her gaze lingered on Victoria's natural hair, styled in a low bun that somehow managed to look both professional and effortless. "I'm going to need to see multiple forms of payment verification," Sarah announced, her voice pitched deliberately high, loud enough for the cluster of women near the meditation fountain to hear. Victoria's eyebrows lifted slightly. "I'm sorry?" "Our clientele expects a certain—" Sarah paused, her lips pursing as if she'd tasted something unpleasant. "Atmosphere. I'm sure you understand." The words hung in the perfumed air like poison gas. Near the fountain, conversation stopped. A woman in head-to-toe Chanel turned fully around, her phone already in her hand. At a corner table, someone whispered to her companion behind cupped palms. Victoria checked her watch, a simple silver piece that cost more than Sarah's monthly salary, though Sarah couldn't know that. "I have exactly 8 minutes before my board meeting." Sarah's laugh was sharp as broken crystal. "Well, you won't be having any meetings here." That's when everything accelerated. From across the lobby, a young woman with platinum hair and designer athleisure wear lifted her phone. Her Instagram handle, @WealthyWellnessGirl, commanded 10,000 followers who lived vicariously through her luxury lifestyle content. "Oh my God, you guys," she whispered into her phone's camera, her voice breathless with excitement. "There's literally drama happening at Serenity Springs right now. Some woman is trying to get in who clearly can't afford this place." The live stream counter ticked upward. 12 viewers, 27, 43. Comments began flooding the screen. "Security time! Call management! This is why we need better screening!" Sarah's confidence swelled with each new face turning toward the reception desk. She crossed her arms, physically blocking Victoria's access to the marble counter. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to wait over there while I verify your membership status." She gestured toward the single chair positioned conspicuously near the exit, the chair reserved for delivery people and unwanted visitors. Victoria didn't move. Instead, she reached into her pocket and withdrew her phone. The screen lit up with a notification that made her smile, the same dangerous smile from moments before. "Interesting timing," she murmured, more to herself than to Sarah. The message was brief. "Acquisition complete. Transfer documents filed. You're now the sole owner. Legal team." Victoria slipped the phone back into her pocket. When she looked up, Sarah was gesturing frantically toward the spa's interior. "Jennifer!" Sarah called to a young woman emerging from the treatment rooms. "Can you call Marcus from security? We have a situation." Jennifer hurried over, her eyes darting nervously between Sarah and Victoria. She was maybe 22, with the kind of anxious energy that suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. "Is there a problem?" Jennifer asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "This woman doesn't have proper verification," Sarah announced, her voice now carrying across the entire lobby. "She's claiming to have an appointment, but our system doesn't show anything." Victoria's phone buzzed again. This time she answered. "Yes, please proceed with the paperwork, all of it." Her voice was calm, almost conversational. "The full documentation package, within the hour." She hung up and looked directly at Sarah. 7 minutes now." Sarah's face flushed red. 7 minutes until what? Until everything changes. The Instagram livestream had reached 89 viewers. @Wealthy Wellness Girl provided running commentary. "Security is definitely coming now. This is getting intense. She's still refusing to leave." Behind the camera, other patrons had their phones out. The scene was being documented from multiple angles, uploaded to private group chats and social media stories in real time. Sarah pulled out her own phone and dialed an extension. "Marcus, it's Sarah. Reception desk, now." Heavy footsteps echoed across the marble. Marcus Rivera appeared, 6 feet 2 inches of uniformed authority, his hand resting casually on the radio clipped to his belt. "What's the situation?" Sarah pointed at Victoria as if she were indicating a spill that needed cleaning. "Trespassing. She won't provide proper payment verification and she's refusing to leave." Marcus's approach was professional but intimidating. Years of experience had taught him how to use his physical presence to resolve situations before they escalated. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me." Victoria remained perfectly still. "Please don't touch me." The words were spoken quietly, but they carried an undertone that made Marcus pause. Something in her voice, not fear, not anger, but something else entirely, something that felt like a warning. "Then you'll need to leave voluntarily," Marcus said, though his tone had shifted slightly. Less certain. Victoria checked her watch again. 5 more minutes. She sat down in the chair Sarah had indicated earlier, crossing her legs with elegant precision. Her fingers moved across her phone screen with surgical accuracy, typing messages that would change everything. Around her, the lobby buzzed with anticipation. 37 people waited to see what would happen next. None of them suspected they were witnessing the opening move in a corporate chess game that had been planned for months. The waiting game lasted exactly 90 seconds before Patricia Hamilton arrived. Victoria had been typing steadily on her phone, her fingers moving with the precision of a pianist. Each message she sent seemed to increase the tension in the room by degrees. The Instagram live stream had climbed to 112 viewers. 3 different patrons were now recording from strategic angles. Patricia Hamilton swept into the lobby like a storm front. At 52, she commanded respect through sheer presence, silver hair pulled into a severe chignon, a charcoal suit that whispered expensive, and the kind of confidence that came from 20 years of managing Manhattan's elite. "What exactly is happening here?" Patricia's voice cut through the murmur of conversation like a blade. Sarah straightened immediately. "Ma'am, this woman is claiming to have an appointment, but she won't provide proper verification. She's been asked to leave multiple times." Patricia's gaze swept over Victoria, taking in every detail. The assessment was thorough and calculating the kind of visual audit that separated tourists from trust fund babies in milliseconds. "And you are?" Patricia addressed Victoria directly. Victoria looked up from her phone. "Someone who's been waiting patiently while your staff creates a scene." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you're getting for the next 3 minutes and 47 seconds. The specificity of the countdown sent a ripple of unease through the watching crowd. At Wealthy Wellness Girl leaned closer to her phone camera, whispering urgently, "She keeps doing this countdown thing, like she's waiting for something specific to happen." Comments flooded her live stream. "Plot twist incoming." "She's definitely up to something." "Security better move fast." Patricia nodded to Marcus. "Escort her out. Now." Marcus stepped forward, but Victoria raised one hand, not in defense, but in the universal gesture of stop. The movement was so controlled, so precise, that Marcus actually paused. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Victoria said quietly. "Is that a threat?" Patricia demanded. "It's practical advice." Victoria's phone buzzed with another notification. She glanced at the screen and smiled, the same dangerous smile that had appeared twice before. This time it was broader. 2 minutes, 30 seconds! The countdown was becoming hypnotic. Even Patricia found herself glancing at her own watch, though she had no idea what she was timing. Jennifer, the young assistant manager, shifted nervously near the reception desk. She'd been working at Serenity Springs for 8 months, and she'd never seen Patricia look uncertain about anything. But right now, there was something in the older woman's expression that suggested cracks in her usual armor. "Ma'am," Jennifer ventured quietly, "maybe we should just—" "Stay out of this, Jennifer." Patricia's voice was sharp, but her eyes never left Victoria. The tension in the lobby had reached a breaking point. Conversations had stopped entirely. Even the soft meditation music seemed inadequate against the weight of 37 people holding their breath. Victoria answered another call. "Yes, the documentation is complete? Perfect. Send the notification now." She hung up and looked directly at Patricia. 1 minute, 45 seconds? 1 minute until what? Patricia's composure was beginning to fray at the edges. "Until you receive the most important email of your career." That's when Patricia's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen reflexively, then froze. Her face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, and finally something that might have been terror. "That's impossible," she whispered. Victoria stood up slowly, brushing invisible lint from her jeans. "Is it?" At Wealthy Wellness Girl's live stream had reached 167 viewers. Her commentary had become increasingly breathless. "Something just happened. The manager lady looks like she's seen a ghost. This is insane." Patricia's hands were shaking as she scrolled through the email. Her face had gone completely white. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victoria said, her voice carrying clearly across the marble expanse of the lobby, "I'd like your attention for a moment." The request was spoken quietly, but something in her tone commanded absolute silence. Even the background music seemed to fade. "My name is Victoria Blackstone." Sarah Collins made a small, choking sound. Marcus took an involuntary step backward. Patricia's phone slipped from her suddenly nerveless fingers, clattering against the marble floor. "Some of you may be wondering why Ms. Hamilton looks like she's about to faint. Would you like to tell them, Patricia? Or shall I?" Patricia's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Victoria reached into her jeans pocket and withdrew a business card. The simple white rectangle seemed to glow under the crystal chandeliers. "CEO, Blackstone Luxury Holdings," she read aloud. "As of exactly," she checked her watch, 37 seconds ago, I am the sole owner of Serenity Springs Spa." The silence that followed was absolute. Even At Wealthy Wellness Girl had stopped talking, her phone camera capturing the moment when an entire room full of people stopped breathing simultaneously. $47 million, Victoria continued conversationally. "That's what I paid for this place. The transaction cleared 17 minutes ago." Sarah Collins was staring at Victoria as if she were a ghost. The color had drained completely from her face, leaving her looking like a photograph negative of herself. "Which means," Victoria said, taking a step closer to the reception desk, "that you all work for me now." Marcus, the security guard, slowly removed his hand from his radio. His training had covered many situations, but accidentally threatening to remove the new owner wasn't in any manual he'd studied. Jennifer looked like she might cry. But Victoria wasn't finished. However, she said, and the single word carried enough weight to make everyone lean forward slightly, that's not why I'm really here today. Patricia found her voice. What do you mean? Victoria's smile widened. Did you really think this was about a spa appointment? She pulled out her phone one more time, scrolling to a specific screen. When she looked up, her expression had shifted into something harder, more focused. I'm not just a CEO, Patricia. I'm also a former civil rights attorney. And for the past 6 months, I've been conducting what we call a compliance investigation. The words landed like physical blows. Sarah actually staggered backward. Today was a test, and Sarah, Marcus, Patricia, you all failed spectacularly. At Wealthy Wellness Girls' live stream viewer count had exploded to over 400 people. Comments were flying so fast they blurred together. Holy shit! She bought the whole place. This is legendary. Best plot twist ever. Victoria looked around the lobby, making eye contact with each of the recording patrons. I hope you all got good video, she said calmly, because what happens next is going to make history. The revelation hit the lobby like a seismic event. Victoria walked to the center of the marble floor, her simple canvas bag still spilled around the reception desk like evidence at a crime scene. Every phone in the room was now pointed at her. At Wealthy Wellness Girls' live stream had crashed twice from the surge of viewers. The count kept jumping between 800 and 200 as Instagram's servers struggled to keep up. 47 documented incidents, Victoria began, her voice carrying with courtroom clarity. That's how many discrimination complaints I've tracked at this location over the past 18 months. She held up her phone, scrolling through what appeared to be an extensive digital file. Mrs. Chen, age 64, refused service because her accent was difficult to understand. That was March 15th. Victoria looked directly at Sarah. You told her the meditation classes were full when there were 12 empty spots. Sarah's hands were visibly trembling now. I don't remember. Keisha Williams, 28, asked to move to a different changing area because another patron made racist comments. You told her the spa wasn't the right fit for her lifestyle. April 3rd. Patricia found her voice. You can't prove. Actually, I can. Victoria's smile was razor sharp. Did you know your meditation fountain has exceptional acoustics? Every conversation at the reception desk carries beautifully to the corner table by the window. She gestured toward a small potted orchid arrangement near the fountain. Camera, audio, every conversation for 6 months. Victoria's phone screen showed a recording interface with dozens of date-stamped files. My investigators have been very thorough. The silence was so complete that the soft bubbling of the fountain sounded like thunder. Jennifer, the young assistant manager, broke first. Oh, God, she whispered. The Williams incident. I was here. I heard Sarah say... Shut up, Jennifer! Sarah's voice cracked like a whip. But Jennifer was past caring about Sarah's authority. Her face had gone chalk white as the implications crashed over her. She called her ghetto, Jennifer said, her voice barely audible. After she left, Sarah said we couldn't have ghetto types ruining the ambiance for real customers. Victoria nodded slowly. Recording number 43, April 3rd, 4:17 p.m. Would you like to hear it? She touched her phone screen. Sarah's voice filled the lobby, tinny but unmistakably clear. Thank God she's gone. We can't have ghetto types ruining the ambiance for real customers. Patricia would have my head if our membership fees dropped because we started letting in the wrong element. The recording seemed to echo longer than it should have in the marble space. Several patrons gasped audibly. At Wealthy Wellness Girls' live stream chat exploded with outrage. Sarah looked like she might vomit. That's taken out of context. Is it? Victoria scrolled to another file. Here's you on May 22nd discussing Mrs. Rodriguez's son. I don't care if he has special needs. This isn't a daycare for Mexican kids. She didn't play that recording. She didn't need to. Sarah's face confirmed its authenticity. Marcus, the security guard, was staring at Sarah with undisguised disgust. Jesus Christ, Sarah, what the hell is wrong with you? Don't act innocent, Victoria said, turning her attention to Marcus. You physically removed 3 people from this lobby without cause. Mr. Thompson on June 15th, a 60-year-old black businessman whose membership was fully paid. You threw him out because Sarah said he was acting suspicious by checking his phone. Marcus's jaw tightened. I was following orders. Were you following orders when you told him that people like him should stick to their own neighborhoods? The security guard's face crumpled. I was having a bad day. My kid was sick and I kid. And that makes racism acceptable? Victoria's phone buzzed with a new message. She read it quickly, and her expression shifted to something even more dangerous. Patricia, you're going to want to check your email again. Patricia's hands shook as she retrieved her phone from the floor. The screen was cracked, but still functional. Her face went gray as she read. The New York State Attorney General's office, Victoria announced to the room, has just received a comprehensive discrimination complaint against Serenity Springs, complete with audio evidence, witness statements, and pattern analysis spanning 18 months. She paused, letting the implications sink in. The Department of Civil Rights will be here within the hour for a formal investigation. They'll be interviewing staff and reviewing all records going back 2 years. At Wealthy Wellness Girl was whispering frantically into her phone. This is insane. She's not just the owner. She's been planning this for months. This is like corporate espionage meets civil rights activism. The authorities are coming. Her viewer count had stabilized at just over 1,400, with comments streaming so fast they were illegible. Drag them. Justice served. Call the news. This is historic. Victoria walked back toward the reception desk, stepping carefully around her scattered belongings. When she reached Sarah, she stopped. 47 incidents, Sarah. 47 people humiliated, degraded, and violated by your staff. Do you know what the average settlement for discrimination in a public accommodation case runs in New York? Sarah shook her head mutely. $125,000 per incident. Sometimes more if there's clear pattern evidence. Victoria's voice was clinical now, like a surgeon describing a procedure. Your insurance doesn't cover discriminatory practices. That liability falls directly on the business. She pulled up a calculator on her phone. 47 incidents times 125,000 equals $5.875 million in potential settlements, plus legal fees, punitive damages, and federal civil rights violations. Patricia made a choking sound. But here's the beautiful part, Victoria continued, her smile returning. As the new owner, I can choose how to handle this liability. I can pursue every legal remedy available, bankrupting careers, destroying reputations, ensuring none of you ever work in hospitality again. The lobby was frozen like a tableau. Even the background music had stopped, as if someone had finally noticed it was inappropriate for the moment. Or, Victoria said, and the single word carried infinite possibility, I can offer alternatives. She looked around the room, making eye contact with each staff member. You see, I didn't buy this place for revenge. I bought it for reform. Jennifer was crying now silent tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I should have said something. I should have stopped it. You're 22 years old, Jennifer. Sarah was your supervisor, Patricia was her boss. The system was designed to silence you. Victoria's voice softened slightly. But you just spoke up when it mattered most. She turned back to Patricia and Sarah. The two of you have a different situation. Victoria's phone rang. She answered without looking away from Patricia. Yes, this is Blackstone. The press release? Hold it for exactly 10 minutes. I'll give you the final version depending on how this next conversation goes. She hung up. Channel 7 News, The Times, and Forbes are all waiting for my statement. The story is already written. I just need to decide which version to send. Victoria held up 2 phones. Version 1. New owner cleans house after exposing discrimination ring. Version 2. Spa staff undergoes revolutionary bias training after owner's sting operation reveals systemic issues. The choice hung in the air like smoke. Which version would you prefer to read about yourselves tomorrow morning? Patricia's cracked phone buzzed again, then Sarah's, then Marcus's. Victoria smiled. Those are your termination papers. Effective immediately. Legal has already processed everything. Sarah staggered backward. You can't. Actually, I can. Discrimination is grounds for immediate dismissal with cause. No severance, no references, and your actions today will be noted in your permanent employment records. Victoria paused, watching their faces. Unless you choose the alternative. The alternative hung in the air like a lifeline over an abyss. Victoria reached into her canvas bag, the same bag Sarah had so violently emptied onto the marble floor, and withdrew a leather portfolio. She opened it with deliberate precision, revealing what appeared to be legal documents. New York Civil Rights Law, Section 40C, she read aloud. Places of public accommodation cannot discriminate based on race, color, creed, or national origin. Violations carry both civil and criminal penalties. She flipped a page. The New York State human rights law extends these protections and allows for punitive damages up to $300,000 per violation when there's evidence of willful discrimination. Patricia's voice came out as a croak. What do you want? Justice. But justice comes in many forms. Victoria closed the portfolio and looked directly at each staff member in turn. I'm offering you 3 choices. Each of you makes your own decision, right now. At Wealthy Wellness Girl's live stream had reached 1,847 viewers. She was broadcasting from behind a marble pillar, trying to stay inconspicuous while capturing every word. The comments section had become a blur of reactions. She's giving them options? Queen of Mercy. They don't deserve it. What are the choices? Victoria walked to the center of the lobby, commanding the space like a courtroom. Choice 1. Accept immediate termination for cause. You leave now with no severance, no references, and discrimination charges on your employment record. The Attorney General's investigation proceeds, and you'll likely face individual civil suits from the 47 victims whose rights you violated. Sarah was hyperventilating. Marcus looked like he might be sick. Choice 2. Complete a comprehensive bias remediation program. 40 hours of intensive training with Dr. Angela Rodriguez, the nation's leading expert in unconscious bias intervention. Public apology to every person you discriminated against, recorded and published. 6 months probationary employment during which any discriminatory behavior results in immediate termination and criminal referral. Jennifer looked up hopefully. Even through her tears, she seemed to see a path forward. Choice 3. Voluntary resignation with 30 days severance and a neutral reference contingent on your full cooperation with the Attorney General's investigation and signed statements admitting to the discriminatory practices documented in our evidence. Victoria checked her watch. You have exactly 3 minutes to decide. My legal team is finalizing press releases for each scenario. Patricia found her voice first. If we choose the training program, what happens to the investigation? The investigation continues. The difference is whether you're cooperating witnesses helping to fix a broken system or defendants trying to avoid accountability. Victoria's phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it and her expression hardened. Actually, let me share some additional context that might influence your decision. She turned her phone screen toward the assembled group. It showed a news article draft with the headline, Serenity Springs Spa, Luxury Facade Hiding Systematic Racism. This article will publish in 45 minutes regardless of your choices. The only question is whether your names appear as former employees terminated for cause or staff members undergoing reform training. Sarah's legs buckled slightly. She gripped the reception desk for support. "The training program," she whispered. What would that actually involve?" Victoria's expression remained neutral. "Dr. Rodriguez specializes in cases where unconscious bias has escalated to actionable discrimination. Her program has a 93% success rate in preventing repeat incidents." She pulled out another document. "You would attend daily sessions for 2 weeks, followed by weekly sessions for 6 months. You'd participate in role-playing exercises where you experience discrimination firsthand. You'd write letters of apology to each person you harmed, and you'd complete community service at organizations serving the communities you discriminated against." Marcus was staring at his hands. "What about our jobs here?" "Probationary employment. Your actions will be monitored, your interactions recorded. One discriminatory comment, one biased action, and you're terminated immediately with criminal referral." Victoria's phone rang. She answered it without moving away from the group. "Yes, this is Blackstone. The protesters? How many?" She paused, listening. 200 people already? And Channel 7 is setting up outside?" She hung up and looked at Patricia with something that might have been pity. "It seems word has gotten out. Social media moves faster than I anticipated." Victoria gestured toward at Wealthy Wellness Girl, who ducked further behind her pillar. "Your live stream audience is now approaching 2,000 viewers, and the video has already been shared 800 times. Through the spa's floor-to-ceiling windows, they could see news vans pulling up outside. Protesters were beginning to gather on the sidewalk, holding signs that read, "Justice for Serenity Springs," and "Luxury doesn't excuse racism." Patricia's face had gone completely white. "This will destroy us." "You destroyed yourselves," Victoria replied matter-of-factly. "I'm offering you a chance to rebuild." Jennifer stepped forward, her voice still shaky but growing stronger. "I choose the training program. I want to make this right." Victoria nodded approvingly. "Jennifer Martinez, Bias Remediation Program. Dr. Rodriguez will contact you within 24 hours. She made a note on her phone. Marcus cleared his throat. The training program, too. I've got kids, and I can't have them growing up thinking their dad was that I was like this." Marcus Rivera, Bias Remediation Program. All eyes turned to Sarah and Patricia. Sarah was still gripping the reception desk, her knuckles white. "If I do the training, will the recordings be released publicly?" "The recordings are evidence in a civil rights investigation. They'll be released according to legal requirements, not my personal preferences." Sarah closed her eyes. "The training program." Sarah Collins, Bias Remediation Program. Everyone looked at Patricia. Outside, the crowd was growing larger. Camera crews were setting up. The story was already breaking on local news apps. Patricia's phone buzzed with a call. She looked at the screen and her face crumpled. "Corporate headquarters," she said quietly. "They already know." She answered the call. "Hello, Mr. Hartwell." Her voice was barely audible. "Yes, I've seen the news alerts. Yes, it's true. All of it." The conversation lasted 2 minutes. Patricia's face went through a series of expressions: shame, fear, resignation. "I've been terminated," she said when she hung up. "Corporate is conducting their own investigation. My employment in luxury hospitality is over." Victoria studied her for a moment. "That's their decision. My offer still stands." Patricia looked around the lobby at the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the meditation fountain where her career had been secretly recorded, dying one discriminatory comment at a time. "What's the point of the training if I can never work in this industry again?" "Because 47 people deserve an apology from you personally. Because you can spend the next phase of your life helping to fix the system you helped create. Because redemption isn't about getting your old life back. It's about building a better one." Outside, a reporter was gesturing toward the spa's entrance, already broadcasting live. Patricia looked at Victoria with something that might have been respect. The training program. Victoria made her final note. Patricia Hamilton, Bias Remediation Program. She looked around the lobby, taking in the faces of the 4 staff members who would now spend the next 6 months learning to see the world differently. Dr. Rodriguez will contact each of you tonight. Your first session is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. The public apology videos will be recorded next Friday and published the following Monday. Victoria's phone buzzed with another message. She read it and smiled, the first genuinely warm smile she'd shown since entering the spa. The Attorney General's office has agreed to treat your cooperation as a mitigating factor. If you successfully complete the program and there are no further incidents, the civil penalties will be reduced to community service and professional monitoring. She gathered her scattered belongings from the marble floor, placing them carefully back into her canvas bag. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, addressing the 37 patrons who had witnessed the entire confrontation, Serenity Springs will be closed for the next 2 weeks for comprehensive staff retraining and policy implementation. When we reopen, this will be a different place entirely. 2 weeks later, Serenity Springs reopened with a ribbon-cutting ceremony unlike any luxury spa had ever hosted. Victoria stood before a crowd of reporters, civil rights activists, and former discrimination victims, wearing the same understated jeans and white cotton blouse she'd worn on that transformative afternoon. Behind her, the spa's marble facade gleamed with new signage. Serenity Springs, a sanctuary for all. Today marks not just a reopening, but a revolution, she began, her voice carrying the same quiet authority that had commanded that lobby. What happened here 2 weeks ago wasn't an isolated incident. It was a symptom of systemic bias that infects the luxury service industry. Wealthy Wellness Girl stood in the front row, her phone capturing every word. Her original live stream had been viewed over 3.2 million times, spawning countless reaction videos and news segments. She'd gained 200,000 new followers and landed a partnership deal with a major diversity advocacy organization. The 4 staff members who discriminated against innocent patrons have completed intensive bias remediation training, Victoria continued. They've written personal apologies to each person they harmed, and they've committed to ongoing accountability measures. In the crowd, Jennifer Martinez stood with her family. The young assistant manager had become an unexpected advocate during her training, speaking openly about how peer pressure and workplace culture had silenced her conscience. Her tearful apology video had gone viral, not for mockery, but for its raw honesty about complicity in discrimination. Marcus Rivera had taken a different path. His training had revealed deep-seated biases he'd never recognized, rooted in his own experiences of economic anxiety. He'd thrown himself into community service, volunteering at a youth center in Harlem where he taught conflict resolution to teenagers. His transformation had been so complete that Dr. Rodriguez had asked him to assist with future training programs. Sarah Collins had struggled the most. Her apology videos were stilted, her community service hours completed with visible reluctance. But gradually, something had shifted. Working at a food bank serving immigrant families had forced her to confront the humanity she'd learned to ignore. She would never again hold a management position, but she'd learned to see beyond the surface of people's appearances. Patricia Hamilton had surprised everyone. Her corporate career was indeed over, but she'd used her severance to enroll in a social work program. At 52, she was learning to channel her organizational skills toward helping discrimination victims navigate legal processes. Her first client was Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman whose accent had once been deemed too difficult to understand. But individual accountability is only the beginning, Victoria said, her speech drawing toward its climax. True change requires systematic reform. She gestured toward the spa's entrance, where new technology gleamed alongside traditional luxury appointments. Every Serenity Springs interaction is now recorded and analyzed by artificial intelligence trained to detect discriminatory language patterns. Staff receive real-time feedback through discrete earpieces. Bias incidents are flagged immediately, allowing for instant correction and coaching. The Equity Eye system had been Victoria's innovation, a combination of audio analysis and behavioral monitoring that could identify discriminatory patterns before they escalated. 3 other spa chains had already licensed the technology. Our mystery shopper program employs diverse testers who visit monthly, ensuring consistent service quality regardless of appearance, accent, or perceived economic status. These results are published publicly on our website. Behind Victoria, a large screen displayed testimonials from recent visitors. Mrs. Williams, who had been turned away 8 months earlier, spoke glowingly about her recent treatment. Mr. Thompson, the businessman who'd been physically removed, had become a regular client. But the most important change, Victoria said, is cultural. Every employee now understands that luxury isn't about exclusion, it's about excellence. True excellence serves everyone with equal dignity. The spa's staff stood together near the entrance. Jennifer wore her name tag with pride. Marcus smiled genuinely as he greeted arriving guests. Even Sarah managed professional warmth as she directed traffic at the reopening. The Attorney General's investigation concluded last week, Victoria announced. Serenity Springs has been recognized as a model for bias remediation in the service industry. Our protocols are being studied by hospitality programs across the country. She paused, looking out at the crowd of faces, some skeptical, some hopeful, all paying attention. Discrimination thrives in darkness, in whispered conversations by marble fountains, in assumptions made during brief glances. We've chosen to operate in full transparency, with accountability measures that protect both our guests and our staff. Victoria's phone buzzed, not with crisis management this time, but with appointment requests from other business owners seeking her consulting services. Word had spread that she could transform workplace culture without destroying livelihoods. Change is possible, she concluded. It requires courage to confront uncomfortable truths, wisdom to choose reform over revenge, and persistence to rebuild systems that serve everyone with dignity. The applause was long and genuine. As the crowd began to disperse, Victoria noticed something that made her smile. Guests of every background, age, and appearance streaming through Serenity Springs' doors, all receiving the same warm welcome. 6 months later, Victoria Blackstone sat in her corner office overlooking Central Park, reading the morning news over coffee that cost less than what Serenity Springs charged for bottled water. The transformation had rippled far beyond one Manhattan spa. The Harvard Business School case study titled The Serenity Springs Method, Systematic Bias Remediation in Luxury Services was now required reading in 3 MBA programs. Dr. Rodriguez's training protocols had been implemented across 47 hospitality companies nationwide. The Equity Eye monitoring system was processing over 100,000 customer interactions daily across 12 major cities. Victoria's phone displayed the latest metrics. Discrimination complaints in participating businesses had dropped by 73%. Customer satisfaction scores had increased by 18%. Most surprisingly, employee retention had improved by 31%, creating inclusive environments made people want to stay. At Wealthy Wellness. Girl, now calling herself at Justice Journey, had used her platform to document bias remediation efforts across the luxury industry. Her follower count had grown to 847,000, and she'd launched a nonprofit connecting discrimination victims with legal resources. Her comment section had transformed from vapid luxury content to meaningful conversations about equity and access. The original live stream footage had become historical document. Universities used it in sociology classes. Civil rights organizations screened it at training seminars. It had been viewed over 12 million times, spawning countless discussions about bystander intervention and systemic change. Jennifer Martinez had been promoted to Assistant Director of Guest Relations at Serenity Springs. Her employee handbook on dignity-centered service was being adopted by hospitality schools. She'd testified before the New York State Assembly about workplace cultures that silence ethical concerns. Marcus Rivera now worked part-time at Serenity Springs and part-time as a bias intervention specialist. His story of personal transformation resonated particularly with law enforcement groups seeking to reform their own practices. He'd spoken at 32 police departments about recognizing unconscious bias in high-stress situations. Sarah Collins had completed her community service and moved to Portland, where she managed inventory for a nonprofit supporting refugee families. The work was unglamorous but meaningful. She'd learned that real satisfaction came from serving people who needed help, not excluding those who appeared different. Patricia Hamilton had graduated from her social work program and opened a consulting practice helping businesses develop authentic diversity initiatives. Her corporate experience, combined with her personal reckoning with bias, made her uniquely qualified to spot performative policies that looked good in press releases but changed nothing in practice. Victoria closed her laptop and looked out at Central Park, where people of every background shared the same green spaces, breathed the same air, chased the same simple human dreams of dignity and belonging. Her assistant knocked and entered. The mayor's office called. They want to discuss implementing equity eye monitoring in all city-licensed businesses. Victoria smiled. Tell them I'll need to see their data on current discrimination complaints first. Real change starts with honest assessment. She picked up her phone and opened a new video recording. Real power isn't about having enough money to buy your way out of discrimination, she said to the camera. Real power is using whatever resources you have, whether it's a smartphone, a voice, or a business degree, to make sure discrimination can't hide in the shadows anymore. The revolution had begun with scattered belongings on a marble floor. Now it was spreading across entire industries, one dignified interaction at a time. What's your story of bias or discrimination? Share it in the comments below. Change starts with visibility. If this story inspired you, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. We're profiling more leaders who choose reform over revenge, wisdom over anger. Tag someone who needs to see that quiet power beats loud confrontation every single time. Share this video, because sometimes the best way to fight injustice is to make sure everyone can see it clearly. Remember, you don't need to own a company to demand dignity. You just need the courage to speak up when it matters most.